Oh, here.
Oh. Hey, guys, can somebody say hello, please? Like Miss Grice?
Oh, yeah, we're here. Where are you,
Okay,
Chris?
you can hear us? Perfect.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me clearly? Hi, everybody.
Yes,
Okay,
the other
I'm
borough,
muting.
the whole borough can hear you. Even Andrew can hear you.
Wow. What are you eating then?
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? And what are you eating, Chris? Yeah, I want to know both.
Chicken.
Okay, and what else does that mean? The whole borough can hear me.
Well, it means it's a good sign. Even Bradley can hear you, right, Bradley?
Hi, Bradley.
Bradley's making.
Hello.
Gonna make him laugh. Even
Okay.
Sharon is here.
Hi, Andrew. Nice to see everybody. I'm now going to mute because that's what I'm supposed to do. See ya.
Oh, Trudy's made it.
What can I tell you?
Still can't get a live picture of Trudy, though. No, I'm just saying, all we have is her photo.
He's being nice. He would like to see her.
Mhm.
That's all. He didn't do anything wrong.
Hi,
Hello,
can
Kurt.
you hear
Happy
me?
New Year. Good to
Hello?
Happy
Here's-
New Year.
Can
see. I
you
hope
hear me?
we hear you,
Yes,
but can we
the whole
see you?
world can
Okay.
hear you.
No, originally it was a silhouette and then Andrew helped me put on a picture. I am not doing the video, okay?
No problem. Just wish, this is Deborah.
I think you all know what I look like too well, so.
Okay, but can I wish you Happy New Year? Because I haven't spoken to you since last year.
Oh, yes, well, didn't you get, I told Christopher every time, and I speak to Christopher quite often, to please give you my love and hugs
Yes,
and.
it does. But
and
I
don't
wanted
say
to have, I have the opportunity.
I don't
You
wish
what?
anybody a happy new year. I wish you a better new year than last year because last year sucked. And,
I agree. And I wish you health,
and,
good health
okay.
for the whole year.
and also a healthy new year because I've had health issues and I just wish everybody to be healthy, including me this year.
I do. But good to hear your voice because it's nice. One day we could maybe hope to see each other again.
Yeah, when I can get out again, when I have the doctor's okay to go traversing around.
Understood. That's why
Okay.
I'm home. Chris is at the meeting, but I'm home for that reason too.
Okay.
Not
Well,
COVID, other things.
I think everybody doesn't want to hear our personal conversation. We can talk on the
True.
phone, okay?
Okay, we'll talk again. Take care.
Okay.
Sending someone to Grand Street to deal with the problem.
Andrew, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, because you owe me a call. So when after,
Who do I owe you
I
that
have-
call from?
what, I'll explain to you, okay? I
Okay,
guess
go.
you forgot.
I
But
didn't
I
get
do
one.
want to know, how is your sister? For everybody to know, Andrew's sister has not been well. How's your sister?
She's being tested, everything's still being tested today. Hopefully she'll go home either later today or tomorrow.
Okay, well, give her my best and my love and everything. Okay.
She doesn't know you, but I certainly will do that, Trudy.
Okay. Well, she knows me through you, or I know her through you, so.
Yes, yes.
Give her a whole TRC, get well.
I second that emotion.
Yeah.
I gotta get.
Everybody should say, give Cicely a big welcome. She's our newest Transit Rider Council member.
Cicely
Harris. I think she's going to be great. Lisa and I had a talk with her yesterday, and she's even the chair of her own community board, Community Board 10 in
Where
Central
are
Harlem.
you, where are
She really
you
has a lot
representing?
on her plate.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the great welcome. As Andrew said, I think that was Andrew on the.
Andrew, yeah.
Great. I'm Cicely Harris. I am, as he said, I am also chair of Community Board 10, that is in Central Harlem. My day job, I am an attorney and I work at the New York State Division of Human Rights. I am the acting first deputy commissioner.
Cecily, who were you appointed by?
Jamani, the public, Jamani
Okay.
Williams, the
Okay.
public advocate.
Good person.
So we're expecting great things from Cicely.
Thank you, thank you. I'm excited to be here and to learn. Thank you.
For your knowledge, why don't we go around the room and introduce ourselves, so you'll know who each of us are. I can't do that on the screen. You can just see them on the screen, but they will tell you who they are, yes. So,
Why don't we start, okay, let's start with me. I'm Lisa Dagley, and we met yesterday. Sorry. Lisa Dagley,
Oh, this.
met yesterday, PCAC Executive Director. Thrilled to have you and everybody here.
My name is Bradley Brashears. I am the planning manager at the PCAC, and actually tomorrow I will be celebrating my 9-year anniversary.
wow,
But happy, definitely to welcome you, Cicely. We've looked at your credentials and they're quite amazing, so we're really excited to have you. So welcome.
Hello, I'm Jessica Stevio, the administrative assistant here at PCAC. Welcome. If you need anything, I will be reaching out to you. You can reach me via email or give me a call. I'd be happy to help you with whatever you may need.
those are long arms you have there.
Thank you.
Hi and welcome. I'm Karen Hamilton. I'm a fairly new member as well.
Let's go to members first.
Hi, I'm Christopher Grice. I represent Brooklyn for the Brooklyn Borough President, also the exec member of the Transit Riders Council, and ACTR for accessibility.
Accessibility, if you like.
Accessibility.
Okay, good.
Karen. Hi, I'm Kara Girl. I'm PCAC's Research and Communications Associate. All right, before we get to our non-member guests, why don't we
Let's do our virtual.
members first. You're on my upper left-hand corner.
Oh, I'm on the upper left of mine too. I'm Burton Strauss. I'm a mayor's appointee to the PCAC going back a long time. We're delighted we have some more members from the city because we've been short, and it's great to have you with us, Cicely.
I'm Stuart Goldstein, and I'm a mayoral member as well, and been a longtime member. And also, I'm on the executive committee. Welcome.
I'm Trudy Mason. Hello, the picture. And I sort of look like that now, except my hair is now gray because I let it grow out because I'm old. And I am the Manhattan representative, and I formerly, long time ago, when I was young, worked for the MTA. So I come from both sides.
And Sharon, are you still on? Oh, yeah, you are. I see iPad.
Yes, on mute.
Yes, you do have to
Sharon,
unmute,
you are on
Sharon.
mute, so.
Sharon, you're muted.
Sharon, you're muted.
Still mute.
I can't ask her to unmute.
She's on the train, so she might not be able to speak because it's loud? Maybe not.
No, she's just muted, unfortunately.
All right,
She's on a
Marisol,
train. She was,
Marisol, we're going around and introducing ourselves to our new member, Cicely.
Awesome.
There.
So
Oh,
this
there's
is,
wait, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Sharon, and she unmute herself.
Can you
let's
hear
get-
me now?
Yeah, let's get Sharon and then Marisol will come right back to you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm in Dubai and it's 9 o'clock at night. And
What?
I've been walking. And they have the most beautiful subway system, a metro system here. It's just heaven. But anyway, I'm a advocate member and I'm so glad to have you aboard. Welcome. And I can't wait to come back and meet you.
Thank you.
Marisol?
hi, I'm Marisol Halpern. I'm the representative to the Bronx Borough President's Office. We have a newly elected Borough President, Vanessa Gibson. So I have been here for quite some time, so I'm happy to meet you.
Great, thank you. And we were joined by a number of guests and some who and I'm sure that you will hear from our company members, our company, as we continue. And Shaul is our intern.
oh, there's Shaul, yes.
Right here the whole time.
If you want to, Shaul,
Oh, you want to just say hello? Give your name and say where you're from and.
Wow. Andrew Kurzweil, Brooklyn, also a member of Rail Users Network, deal with accessibility and other issues.
Correct.
That's, transit, that's, 20 years,
So you want to say hi? Okay, and we have Shaul, who is our intern. Deborah.
Hello. Hi, I'm Deborah Gray. Yes, I am Christopher's mother. I'm also the chairperson of the Brooklyn Family Sports Service Advisory Council and the Brooklyn representative to the statewide advisory council. I also a member of my local community board. And I won't answer everything, but I raised my child to be a great transit advocate and he's carrying on. So nice to meet you. Thanks.
Jasmine.
I'm Jasmine Moser. I'm on the board of Good Neighbors of Park Slope, and we're an aging in place community in Brooklyn. And of course, we have concerns about accessibility and safety. So PCAC was very helpful in our getting an elevator at the 7th Avenue F train stop and 9th Street, which is supposed to be completed summer of 2023. Thank you.
Ron, you are, and as we continue, you are on the where?
You have to unmute. There we go.
He's ready.
Go ahead, Ron.
Hi, I'm a former community board member when I still lived in Manhattan, but I've since been very involved to the degree I could be in various Long Island Railroad issues and some New York City transit issues. Just very important to me, even though I'm not actively commuting at this time.
Alexandria?
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandria LaFleur. I'm the Accessoride organizer for the Center for the Independence of the Disabled of New York. I was invited here today by Charlton from Passengers United. Just kind of excited to see what we're working on and get a little more involved on the Accessoride and accessible transit parts.
Last but not least, and I don't want to mispronounce your name, Rocchio?
No, we're Zia.
Rosia.
Good afternoon. My apologies for turning my camera off. I'm in the middle of something else. Good afternoon, everyone. Rosia Sumaya here, a community member and also a parent advocate in all 5 boroughs. Nice to be here and to learn from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let me just emphasize that while our Transit Rider Council members have said, you know, I'm a Manhattan representative or a Brooklyn representative or such and such, all riders of every borough and visitors to New York as well. So while we may have a geographic locale attached to our names, I'm actually a public advocate appointee, but we all represent all riders. And let's start our meeting because we have a lot to talk about today. Could we first get an approval of the agenda?
Andrew, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda,
And why don't you?
because I want to do it because it's cute.
Okay. All right. Is there a second? All right. Terrific. How about the minutes? Any changes or additions to the minutes that you received? If not, may I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
And I second the motion.
Second.
Second.
Hey, see, everybody's fine for seconds.
Great. All right. Lots to talk about today, folks, so let's get right into it. Safety issues, needless to say, have permeated all discussions at the MTA committees, at the full board yesterday, in the news media, and rightly so. We had some real tragic incidents. The death of Michelle Alyssa Go, a young man was pushed the day after Michelle was killed. There have been stabbings, there have been other kinds of pushings down steps and what have you. It's obviously very much on riders' minds. It is very much on the new mayor's mind, Police Commissioner Sewell's mind, Chairman Jan O'Leaver's mind, and everybody else. We have now a new transit police chief who's really great. I knew Jason Wilcox from his previous positions in Upper Manhattan. He was also in the Bronx, I think, for a period of time. Yes. He really gets it. I think he's going to be terrific. There is also a movement, as you have heard, from Governor Hochul to place SOS units in the subways. That should begin next week. They will look after homeless issues and try to give these unfortunate folks some of the services that they need. Living in the subway is not good for them or us. Inhaling rail dust 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is not healthy. There are other health issues involved. There are some folks who need some mental assistance, one of whom, unfortunately, is the one who pushed Michelle Go to her death.
Yeah.
So we need to take care of these problems. And from the way everybody's talking and from the now more visible police presence in the subways, I think these things are going to happen. This is not going to happen overnight. We need to get people feeling secure and comfortable. The subways and bus system and commuter rail system is the way that New York moves. It fuels our economy. It makes people want to live here. We can live here without a car, which is wonderful. And so we need these things to perform as intended and without fear. I have noticed in my many trips in the last few days, many riders are standing back against the walls as opposed to by the trackside. That's great. You shouldn't do that out of fear. It's a sensible thing to do. And today, with the countdown clocks and all the transit apps, I have at least 4 on my phone, you really don't have to peer down the tunnel to see if your train is coming. They tell you exactly when the train is coming. In fact, not to do an advertisement, but Underway is really accurate. I really love that app. You can touch a station, you can see when the trains are coming, northbound, southbound. Of course, the MTA's live map is also great. And there's a host of other apps. So you don't have to be near the edge peering down. But if you just make sure you know who's around you, and I would tell you that if you're in the street or in the subway, you'll be fine. So safety is a big issue. There are people who are suggesting platform doors for the New York subway system. I remember discussing this at length when Andy Byford was here.
Yes.
And other board members. And there are some real issues associated with platform doors. New York is a unique subway system. It is not like other systems. And I say that because many of our stations are over 100 years old, and platform doors are heavy, and we've been told that entire platforms would have to be rebuilt to support platform doors. There's that issue. Then there's the issue of we have multiple car types running on the same line, so door opens in different places. How would that work with platform doors? We have I can think of some lines that have 3 car types serving them. They don't all line up exactly the same. Then there's that issue. Plus, New Yorkers are New Yorkers. We like to hold doors. I've noticed people holding doors. Imagine if somebody started doing that and broke the platform door, that whole side of the station would not be accessible. So we do have issues. There's accessibility issues for people with wheelchairs and luggage and walkers and all of that. There's a host of issues. I know that it's a simple thing to say we need platform doors, but what we need is a new fare entry system to prevent people who mean other people harm from entering. We need police presence, and we need treatment of the homeless. It sounds like we're getting 2 out of those 3. I know that the fare entry system will be discussed at some point. Interestingly, Chief Bratton, former Police Chief Bratton, the other day had a wonderful op-ed piece saying much of the same things I'm saying, which is if you stop people that mean other people harm at the turnstiles, you've not only improved the MTA's bottom line, but you've helped take a real bite out of crime. So I'm hopeful that we will be moving in the right direction on those. We will be posted. There might even be a working group on safety. Another issue that Chairman Lieber has addressed is the number of people who are actually on the tracks for whatever reason. Some people are living down there. Some people have slipped. Some people have lost a phone or some other thing, and they climb down the steps to go on the tracks. This has caused innumerable delays and some injuries to people. So there is a task force to deal with the track intrusion. And also, if people are on the tracks, they're putting litter on the tracks, which is increasing the rat problem, which is increasing the drainage, the ability of our drains when litter is in the drains to let water out. So there's some additional flooding. God forbid that water gets up third rail level. We don't want that. So there's just so many issues to deal with. But I am confident that the current management and under Jano's lead, Chief Safety Officer Patrick Warren and the new Transit Police Chief Jason Wilcox, I think we're going to see some results. And so I will pause there on the safety issue. Does anybody have any questions?
Andrew, I have a safety concern because it does affect with a lot of accessibility concerns because I brought this up to you, and I know a lot of our members have brought this up. The concern with the homeless issues, even when we had the holiday train running, like the R32, the Second Avenue Houston, Canal Street, Delancey Essex Street, it has gotten more dangerous and more violent than it's gotten. I mean, you can barely breathe down there because they're smoking, number one. 2, I'll say that they're exposing themselves. They're even soiling the trains or sometimes the station. And the cleaners are outnumbered. And there are times, we do call it in, there's no NYPD. And I'm only talking about Manhattan. It's nice to see that when we did Mass Force, yes, we do see the NYPD in Transit 34. But once you leave from that turf of Transit 34 in any branch line, you don't only see Transit 32, you don't see Transit 30 or 33, and there are a lot of them are not really taking things safety issues. There are so many problems on these lines, but they're more hurting is in Manhattan, Queens. When Sarah's mentioning yesterday regarding that problem on the Lex line, there was one thing I mentioned last month, and I think the month before. 125th Street, you have a lot of mental health area that comes out of there, and they're all, if you're trying to get out of the gate, you can't because they're all running, and you can't get a wheelchair or a walker or a person out where the elevator is. There is no safety there. And forgive me if I'm raising my voice. It's upsetting me to see this. We pay our fare. How can we get on or off a train safely in Manhattan and parts of Brooklyn?
It's not just Manhattan.
No. I'm just saying Manhattan.
So
and I was ready to say
after
parts
Sarah
of
Meyer gave her presentation yesterday, and everybody was saying the various things that the transit police would do, social service would do, homeless services would do, the MTA itself would do, I raised the issue because Sarah, in her presentation, had a board that showed how you can get in touch if you see something that's not right, whether it's calling 911, whether it's pushing the button on the
answer
on the hot points. There's a text that you can send to a place. There's a phone number that you can call. I said maybe these things should be on the out front advertising displays flashing every now and then so people see if something's not right, if you see a homeless person, if somebody's in need of something, you can just call it and somebody will be dispatched to take care of that. So I'm waiting to hear if that's a go at this moment. But I think everyone should get involved, riders as well. We should partially be responsible for reporting things that don't look right. Just like what you just mentioned at Second Avenue and Houston Street on the F line, you know, you should be able to push the hot point and
They don't work.
report it. Then you gotta report that too.
I do. Andrew, I reported it in, but I'm still gonna say this. When we finally get an answer, they're saying we have to contact the homeless division, and I'm like, how about you send?
I'm gonna work on that.
Yeah, how come, and I know Deborah's gonna have the same issue too, because it's not just.
Because she's a gripe.
No, it's not just a gripe right now. It has to do with, what we've been hearing for the last week is families in each borough saying, how can we get on a train to go to a Broadway show or somewhere, anywhere in the borough, if there's always a problem in Manhattan? There are so many people saying that if I don't have to go to Manhattan, I just want to go up to the Bronx to Botanic Gardens, I have to go take a train to a bus, not to go into Manhattan, just to go around. And this is
Christopher,
what
that's been an issue that's been talked about, not just at the board meeting,
yeah.
but by the mayor, by the governor, by Jano,
Yeah.
by the police,
About Penn
captain.
Station and the issues there.
That is, I think, you know, we have to give these guys more than a day.
Oh, no, I'm giving
Because
a
they
chance.
recognize the problem, and the fact that they recognize it is the first step to.
And they're all gonna work on it, which is
they're all gonna
wonderful.
work
They're
on
working
it.
together for a change.
Right, and this is, you know, we have to recognize that everybody knows it's a problem. And I think that we're collectively seeing that there are a lot of tools that are being developed that weren't developed before, that are gonna be used to address it. So we need to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
We need to have a little patience and faith.
I have the patience. It's just like reminding people today, like we're all saying what Andrew, you just said. All I'm saying to people, and I agree with what you're saying, Andrew, if you see something, say something. And it's not just one person ignoring it. If you see something, help that person.
I'm gonna have a specific conversation with Pat Warren about how we can have the right messaging on the out front digital screens, so people will frequently see. I mean, it's wonderful that we see ads for the Poconos in upstate New York and all that, but if you see something that doesn't look right, text, call.
I think that's Sarah, Sarah.
It
more
is
than-
Sarah, but I think Pat can get it.
And
Go-
can
going.
we add also showing that for seniors and people with disability, because when they do those advertisements, I think it'd be better, it's showing all types of people, doesn't matter if they don't have a disability, but if they do, they should show, people are using the trains, buses. We need to remind them, and we need to strongly work on different language barriers, because the main issue, what I'm seeing right now is, and I know Stuart will agree with me on this one, it's definitely on our end of Brooklyn, going from Brighton Beach, parts of Sheepshead Bay, and Midwood. Even today, I've seen almost 20% of people not wearing a mask. And I'm not talking about kids, I'm talking about adults. There are 90% of students in going to those schools are wearing the mask. And let me tell you, it's nice to see and students wearing them, but where are the adults showing the example? Period.
Okay,
Other members?
let's, any other members with a hand up? Otherwise, I will call on.
There is a hand up.
I know there is.
But we're asking for
I
members.
know, I'm just letting him know.
Mr. X also has his hand.
I know he does. All right, then, Mr. X. Treated you like what? I'm sorry?
Treated me like a stereotype, much like JJ from Good Times many years ago. Therefore, he's untrustworthy. I don't know where you got to say he's trustworthy. I don't think so. He gets 2 thumbs down, therefore he gets 2 wagons from me.
Gonna give him a chance, because
I'm not giving him a chance.
he's saying the right thing, so we'll see.
All right, you want to give him a chance, that's fine. I'm not doing it.
Okay. Deborah?
Give her a second, husband.
You're
You're
muted, Deborah.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, I want to bring up a small point in reference with safety. No, I'm not going to repeat everything Chris said. When I used the wheelchair and when I also traveled with the lady apprentice, where the elevators are and a lot of, yeah, I know the stations are, but where we have to go to get from the elevator, say to the center where it's boarding, it's so narrow. We can actually be shoved by someone hiding behind a staircase. And it's come close a few times for me. I won't talk about for Edith, but it's so hard for us to manipulate. I have brought this up to the Acta Safety Committee. I have put it in writing. It is a very scary and hard. And yes, I've seen those people, especially the one unfortunately killed that woman. And I was surprised he didn't try that on me. But the other problem I want to bring up is I used to be a council president. And I always invited the Transit District 34 because do you know that none of the transit districts have their own community precinct councils? And they don't have liaisons from the community councils there so we can talk about issues. It's never been done. I brought it up for many years. They said, oh, it's a great idea. And it's never been followed through, and it needs to be, because when they need to know what issues we are having. Like the example for me to go from the elevator when I get down from on Metro Tech, J Street Metro Tech, on the A and F platform, yeah, I have enough room to move around safely, but not downstairs where the R train is. And I am at times shaking. I try not to show because they look for me being scared, but I won't show it. But I am worried because I can be shoved onto the platform easily with the walker. I was that nervous with the wheelchair. So there are
Deborah,
issues that need to be looked at.
Now that Police Commissioner
You gotta speak
Sewell
up a little bit.
has mandated that beat cops consider the subway stations in their district as part of their beat, that is actually promotes what you're talking about and why there should be the review, the civilian subway, those councils that you previously mentioned. Those should take place now that the subways are going to be part of the regular beat. That makes perfect sense.
Because NYCTRC, the New York City Housing, they have their own precinct councils. And yes, their liaisons do come over to us, but we've been bringing it up for years about transit. Transit District 34 was the only one that was very cooperative and would come over and talk with us. And the 60 also had a good relationship with them. But we have to improve on this because then it's more that they work together because they don't see the needs like with a person with disabilities. They don't see us.
We're going to raise
or
the
team.
issue.
So
We will raise the issue.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let me move on to ridership. Ridership has slipped since we have been meeting. Obviously, Omicron has taken, and the crime wave has taken a bite out of ridership. It had been 60% of pre-COVID. It is slipped back down to 50% of pre-COVID. Hopefully, we are getting past the Omicron surge. Our numbers are getting much better. The whole Northeast numbers are getting much better. And that might mean people feel a little safer going out amongst everyone else again, and perhaps some jobs will return. Some employers will bring people back to their offices. Hopefully also when they see what's being done to address crime and when they see more police around the system, that will be another incentive to bring people back. But at the moment, it has stabilized, and most of the folks at the meetings expect ridership will once again rise. So we hope to see that because that's the key to economic recovery here. As Chris mentioned, the R32s have retired, but the R211s are coming. I spoke to Demetrius, the Senior VP of Subways, yesterday about disbursement and where these were being tested. And it turns out now that they've undergone certain preliminary tests, they will be tested out on the Rockaway test track. So they're not coming, on regular lines yet. But I will be kept notified about when that will happen. But so far, they seem to be performing well. We do not have the open gangway version of them yet. Those are months off, and everybody is a little apprehensive about how those are going to work, given how we have entertainers, beggars, and other folks going from car to car. This will make it real easy for them. And then there's the ventilation issue and other issues. But we're going to give them a test, like we said we would, because I think we're getting between 30 and 50 of the open gangway version of the R211. So new cars are coming, so watch for them. Good news in the move to make the system more accessible. 170th Street on the 4 line along Jerome Avenue in the Bronx has been made fully accessible. That's great news for the people in that community, and there are more stations coming. In fact, the next group of stations that will be made accessible are New Dorp on the Staten Island Railway.
Who's gonna talk about that?
My report. Grand Street on the L, Beach 67th Street, or Gaston Avenue if you prefer, on the A in the Rockaways. 7th Avenue, as Jasmine mentioned, on the F and G line in Park
Yeah,
Slope.
they're just getting ready to work.
Dyckman Street, northbound only on the number 1 train. Hopefully, I know southbound is that station, if anyone knows it, it's got weird geography and topography there, and it's going to be tough to do the southbound. But more people are obviously riding southbound from there than northbound from Dyckman Street, so we'll see what happens. But East 149th Street on the 6th line in the Bronx, Lorimer Street on the L line in Brooklyn, and Metropolitan Avenue on the G line. So we have those and a lot more, obviously, coming, because there's lots of plans to make at least 30-some-odd new stations, and I think I read off that list at last month's meeting. But you'll hear more from Q today, our speaker, so stay tuned for that. As you may have heard, Omni has suffered a little bit of a setback in that some of the programming has to be revised. Part of it due to the new fare incentives that are coming in at the end of February and the beginning of March, like fare capping and, no more than a certain amount of money for a weekly. And so that programming has to happen, and that's going to take a little time. Plus, in introducing that to Metro North and the Long Island Railroad has gotten a little more complicated. So because of those things, as opposed to earlier when we thought MetroCard would be retired by the end of 2023, it looks like it might go into the first, or hopefully not, the second quarter of 2024. But that doesn't mean that the rollout of, and the vending machine installation is going to be a little delayed, but they're still coming this year. And obviously you can buy them at a host of stores, and all of the fare options that are being introduced will be available on Omni this year, including reduced fares, senior, and all of that. So it is coming. It's just a little bit delayed, final piece. And some of that is the MTA's fault, because we have introduced new fare types, and the programming has to be adjusted to allow for those. But Omni is great. I see people using it all the time with their phones, with cards. It is now about 24% of all the fares that are entered, and it is going up for sure. Okay.
Andrew, I'd like to ask a question about Omni.
Sure. Go ahead, Stuart.
Have you heard any grumblings that they're behind with their testing of the reduced fare cards for seniors and the rollout of that? Is that related to the programming issue?
It's a little bit, yes, that's part of the issue, but I still hear that's coming this year.
Okay, because they're behind the schedule that they advanced to us about the testing in that area. We're also hearing grumblings about the applicability of the cards to the express bus rider group. Have you heard anything about that?
I heard that's part of the delay too, getting them ready for the express buses.
Okay, so if you could keep us posted on those items, that would be great.
Yes, absolutely.
Andrew?
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, because I'm on the test card right now on the Omni. The concern is right now, Stuart, is there is some areas that some of the buses and that's actually coming out of, two of the boroughs that are having a problem with the vehicles with them. One of them in Brooklyn is Alma Park, because their machines have been going completely blackout with the card, and the other one was in the Bronx depot that just came up 2 days ago. So there is an issue going on with those two depots, but at the same time also now they're coming up soon. The next phase is supposed to be accessorized. They should be coming up with that, but right now, as we all know, they're delayed because of A, COVID, B, the way they're changing certain things. There are some major issues going on with technology right now. As you know, machines have to come in now, they're behind. There is a lot of concern issues because some of us who are testing it, we can go to a store, but the store doesn't have, they don't know what they're doing. So there are some stores that they're off the list because they did something that they're supposed to follow through. The Omni card store is supposed to have the card, which they don't even know how to put in a $5 charge, which they don't know that. Second, if I want to energize my card, they don't even know how to do it unless you explain to them just to scan the card. So there are stores and a lot of the boroughs are having these issues right now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for
Thanks,
that.
Chris. And Andrew, I'm not going to continue the topic, but Chris reminds me of one other piece of feedback I've heard, that the stores that are actually selling the items, the list is not readily available or known to the general public. There was a general announcement about 7-Elevens carrying the product, but unlike during the MetroCard rollout, where there was a robust list and robust advertising, that's not the same here for what private stores are carrying the card.
Yeah, I've seen ads for the Duane Reade, CVS, a whole host of other stores, but you're right, it hasn't been advertised really well at all.
And not in system, meaning we don't even see
That's true.
advertisements in
Not in
system.
system at
Tell
all.
him he's right, because that's another issue that I did brought up.
Did bring up.
Yeah, bring up, and I'm gonna email him.
Mr. X?
Advice to you is, on this card, build everything, keep the current card until, get the new machine. This way, we're moving backwards, as you know, people make the world go around like a salad.
That's a fine song, actually, yeah. Okay, so let me say a few words about the Interborough Express, which everybody is pretty excited about. Anybody that knows the route, the route.
Jason has his hand raised. Jason, I'm sorry, I don't see your hand raised. Oh, there it is, it's blending in with your background.
Thank you,
Oh, yeah.
Lisa.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
My apologies that I wasn't able to join you guys in person, but here I am virtually. Agreeing with Stuart, yes. It has been very hard to find the Omni card. They had it first in a check cashing place in Midtown, but yours truly found it in the 7-Eleven at 28th Street and 3rd Avenue. But the point is that I had to buy it with cash. And also that same day, I had New York One reporter, Sharon Ferry, that she purchased some Omni cards too. And she was told by the 7-Eleven cashier that that we have to buy it cash only. And it was very weird that yesterday we saw even gas stations. Since when gas stations sell Omni cards? Because I don't see gas stations selling Metro cards. And another point that I want to mention, Andrew, is that during my speeches this month, yes, I've been seeing people smoking in stations, in particular Nevin Street on the 2, 3, 4, and 5 during the early morning hours when I'm going to go to work in Staten Island. That I use that station if there's a service change on the R. And every time that I reported, I don't see no officers from Transit District 30. And my home station, that is Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center, that is one station east, is Transit District 32. And now oftentimes you see them distracted on their personal phones. And like, for instance, Monday, I saw one officer distracted on his personal cell phone. And also I've been still seeing, Andrew, believe it or not, officers not complying with the TSA mandate that is still in effect until March. And
Jason, let me just tell you that we have raised the issue of officers in the system on phones, and we have been reassured that sometimes they are getting broadcast descriptions of perpetrators or be on the lookout for so-and-so on their phones. So it's what may seem always like a personal phone call may not always be one.
But
yes,
it is
Andrew,
a lot of the
I
time.
totally understand that, Andrew, but here's the detail. They have two devices. They got their personal device and they got one provided by NYPD. The one provided for the NYPD is that they have to be on the lookout. And the one that I've been noticing with the distraction is their own personal device, not the one provided by the NYPD.
That's something that was raised at the meetings the other day to the new transit chief, and he said that he's aware of it and that he's going to, he's going to do what he can to address it, and make the commanding officers aware that that's a priority for that to stop. So, as I said, Jason, I'm not sure if you were on yet, we got to give the guy a couple days at least to get himself organized. It's been a really very tragic week for the police department too.
Very tragic for the
Oh yeah, it has been indeed a very tragic week for the NYPD.
Give them a little bit of time to acclimate both to a new chief for the transit and, and a new, a whole new police chief, and to a new way of doing business, and to what was something that they're all going to.
And Jason, surely you didn't think you had to tell me the lines that serve the Nevin Street station, right?
Yeah, I told you Nevin Street.
I know, but you didn't have to say 2, 3, 4, 5, because I knew that, Jason.
I know, Andrew. I know that you know that in particular. And and I know that Jason Wilcox will do a tremendous good job when he's in there. But also I addressed something yesterday with Kimmel regarding the signage in elevator 301. Deborah, you could take notice of this too. Elevator 301 at Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center on the 4th Avenue downtown side. The sign is outdated. They posted the new sign, but apparently they took it off. And now we have the old sign.
Stu is going to be our speaker today, so we can bring it up, okay?
But at least I was able to speak with Kimmel yesterday, and he showed me that he's gonna take a look into this.
Okay, great.
So we've got 10 minutes to
Yes,
talk
and
about
I still have
the
to do
IBX.
something.
So let's keep it rolling.
Let me continue with my report, please. You've all heard a lot about the Interborough Express running along the route of the old New York Connecting Railroad and from Bay Ridge across Brooklyn, basically near Avenue H, around that level, over into East New York, up near the cemeteries, into Fresh Pond, Glendale area, Maspeth, and up into Jackson Heights. So this is a very exciting proposal. It will utilize an old rail line. The right-of-way is there. Obviously, a lot of people have thrown mattresses and other debris on the tracks that will all have to be fixed. They have to decide what type of car type or, God forbid, bus type will be used on that route. But I've seen the proposed map, and if it stops everywhere that is being proposed, it's not the Interborough Express, it's the Interborough Local.
But that's not a proposal, that's what somebody who
I
just decided that that's what they were
I
gonna do.
have raised the issue. The issue has it stopping at 3 L train stations, Livonia Junius, Broadway Junction, and Wilson Avenue, which is ridiculous. Broadway Junction is very strategic, obviously.
Andrew, there have been changes since we last spoke about this, if I can speak for a minute from the governor's office, okay? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, that's why I've been pushing and pushing, because rather than going through, the governor has now come forth with 3 separate proposals for using the line, either as rapid transit, which is what you're talking about, but also maybe just as a bus line, or the third, putting something over it. And in other words, only one of the 3 possible uses is as rapid transit. And the other question is, where is the funding going to come from? That still has not been, it's something that is going to take quite a bit of time, and to go into the details now, as the governor puts together more and more of a firm proposal, I think that's when we should discuss it. But otherwise, right now, there are so many different possibilities. So I'm just bringing everybody up to date on this.
And we understand that folks would love it to go to the Bronx, but with Metro North's Penn Access Plan, adding trains and Amtrak.
Andrew, what I'm trying to say is all of these things are right now, the governor put
I understand, Trudy.
a proposal about an unused line, which we have been talking about for years, if you know. But to go into the details right now, until we know more of her actual proposal and the funding, is just, I think, a waste of time. I have been told, let me put it differently. I have been told that it's a waste of time to go into the minutia and the details at this point about it.
Well, as my obligation to keep everybody informed, I've heard various proposals, so I thought I would elaborate a little bit. Now I am moving on. The next topic.
No,
is
Andrew, that's why I'm bringing this up, because I didn't know if you had the latest information from the governor's office besides her budget proposal and her state of the state message, which
I
is
have
what.
some later stuff. I know there are 3 possibilities. I get all that.
Okay, I'm just announcing it for everybody else.
Yeah,
Andrew.
Trudy,
Hold on, Stuart, hold on.
I totally agree with you on that a lot of going into the minutia right now at this point is not a valuable use of our time. But I think that what we can advocate for right now is to make sure that the process is completely transparent, so that as they're developing this and as they come up with the environmental assessment, all the alternatives, that the public has a chance to weigh in on the preferred modes and what they would like to see, so that that gets included in the process. And I think that that's what we should be focusing on right now.
What I was going to add is, as people learn about it, we can get more feedback, and maybe that can also help guide what's ultimately planned. Because too often, people in the community, something's forced upon them and that they've had no input. So we don't want to just wait until, something's determined. We want the people who use it to help make that determination. It's important. I'm glad that you brought it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andrew.
Stuart,
I wanted to correct something. This is not an unused line. It is used for freight transportation. It is managed by Atlantic. It is the Long Island Railroad's Bay Ridge branch. It is complex. I think we as a group need to discuss whether we even support this being operated by New York City Transit, who can't even manage the properties that it has now. For the disability community that's well represented in our call, part of the line is in an open cut, part of the line is on a raised bed. Connections with other transit lines that are already in operation would be complex. So I don't think it's a simple issue. Also, over the years, the yards that were part of the railroad right-of-way have been sold off or either leased to trucking companies or other things along the line. So even the rolling stock and storage, this is a very complex issue. It's not simple, but I think as a transit group, whether this is a Long Island Railroad operation, whether it's a New York City Transit operation, or whether it's a busway, that would really be very complex because it's an active railroad right-of-way.
Indeed.
That real quick. So Stuart, you bring up an excellent point. Earlier this week, I was at, I think it was the Queens Chamber of Commerce, and RPA was there. This was, their original proposal. And they talked about the freight operations. And I think that, of course, that is extremely important, so we don't want to displace those operations to be taken up by, trucks on the roadway system and contributing to congestion and CO2 emissions. What they did say in that meeting was that depending on what mode is chosen, that they could still be able to operate 16 to 21 freight trains a day. So I think that that's something we need to pay attention to and hopefully make sure that that still does happen.
And renewed talk of the Cross Harbor Freight Ferry or tunnel.
Right. In some places,
Nazareth is a big fan of, obviously.
in some places, the right-of-way is so narrow, there's only 1 or 2 tracks, because over the years, they've had other uses. Like at Avenue I, things have changed since its original concept. So all these things really are very complex, but we, I think, should, weigh in on what they're developing.
They also, Stuart, and also just one more note to what you just said, they also said that in many instances, it is only a 1-track to 2-track operation, but there is possibility to add up to 4 tracks in certain locations. So that's stuff that we also want to pay attention to as well.
Yes, absolutely. In the Foster Avenue corridor, as it goes elevate, absolutely. But again, where you're going to put the rolling stock, there are lots of issues. And again, let's be realistic. We can't even maintain the system we have now. So, so maybe Long Island Railroad should be the operator, and it's something we should discuss.
I see that Mr. X has his hand raised. I wanted just for a sec, I had gotten an interesting call from somebody who gave a presentation at a conference I was at recently about how FRA rules and regulations have been revised so that light rail is permitted to travel on heavy rail, and that those regulations have changed so that if light rail is determined that light rail is going to be the vehicles that are going to be used, that it's okay now, that it can't be, that it's not precluded from using those lines. It wouldn't have to be completely changed, and that it also wouldn't eventually potentially preclude extension or off-roading and trolley traffic. So there's all sorts of things to consider.
And again, remember the line right now is not electrified. It once was with catenary, but not now. So there are lots of expenses. This is very complex.
All of this discussion right now is premature. Jano has met with the governor or the governor's people about this. They are looking into all of the different alternatives. The one I forgot to mention was light rail, which is a strong possibility, not buses, but actual light rail. And so our important thing, and I will be happy to, and I'm sure Andrew and others, as new ideas come across. But right now, I'll say it again, and then I'll stop. It is premature to go into all of the minutia and the details at this point.
Correct. Then we're going to move on.
Can you talk louder, please, because we're
Intro. Governor, as far as I'm concerned.
she's a duly elected governor. You have to be correct.
Well, I'm for intro because wasn't originally elected at first in command back in 2018.
Well, she's governor.
And also, she may or may not get elected this year, especially after what happened recently. She doesn't get reelected, she doesn't get elected this year. What happens? How does it affect this proposal?
Nobody knows that.
Okay, well, I'm saying that we could focus on between now and 12/31.
She is up for a re-election. There are other,
Please don't
other,
interrupt, please.
hello?
Okay,
Whoever asked that question, I could barely hear it. But just so you know, there is a primary.
There's a problem with the
Judy, I'm
sound.
gonna have to mute you.
And what I'm saying is, we can do it between now and 12:31. Like I said, based on briefly, she may not get elected, she won't be officially first in command.
But that doesn't mean the idea wouldn't go forward either. So stay tuned is really the best. Stay tuned.
She's lucky.
Let me end my report, which has gotten really lengthy now, with a bit of good news. The governor, the actual governor, Governor Hochul, is giving the MTA more money this year, which of $300 million additional that they weren't really expecting, but which they are very grateful to have, which will mean no fare increase in 2022. That is some very good news for trying to get folks back. The new fare incentives will hopefully work, and the assault on crime and hopefully getting the homeless the help they need should also mean better ridership as we move through 2022. And let's hope this COVID thing goes away.
How much?
How much what? $300 million.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sure.
So I will end my report there. And before we move to our speaker, Lisa, do you want to give a report?
Quickly, because is Q here? If Q is here, then I will yield my time and give, and after, okay, so I don't see him on here yet. So legislation has passed, we're just waiting for the chapter amendments to come through. New legislation that would add a member to be appointed by the mayor to TRC, and also one member each to the commuter councils, who would be focused on bicycle and pedestrian access. And that would also the legislation will also require us as ECAC to, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by all the things. The legislation will also require us, please stop, okay? I was just in the middle of saying something. The legislation will also require us to provide the MTA, to provide input into development of a strategic plan that they're developing that would need to be considered in their development of the capital plan. So it hasn't been officially signed, sealed, and delivered yet. There are a couple of chapter amendments, provisions that are still being discussed. So we will share with you when that happens. But, you know, it's a, you know, certainly, importance of considering first mile, last mile, and then do, like, say, everybody starts and then
Pedestrian.
as a pedestrian or entering the system on wheels or feet.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And now I see that we have our presenters, and I will yield to
It's a great honor to present Clamel Arroyo, the Chief Accessibility Officer, and now he also has an additional title as of a few days ago, Special Advisor to the Chairman. So congrats, Q, and welcome. Can't unmute. That's not good. Let's see if we can do that.
I can ask you to unmute. That's about all I can do. Ask you to unmute. You want to come back in? Yes. Well, why don't you go out and come back in? Okay. Sarah, or are you having a similar problem, Sarah?
Hi, Lisa. This is Howie. I'm not having that issue, obviously, at this point, but also just I'll be sharing the presentation if I need any permissions for that. But actually, it looks like
I've given you that permission, yes. Okay.
Hi, Lisa. This is Sarah. No, I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Thank you. That actually worked.
Okay.
All right.
It's basically the,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's been technology, disaster day, so apologies for that. I would blame me.
No. All is well. Thank you. Hey, thank you so much for the invite. It's truly a pleasure to be speaking with you all. And I believe we have a presentation that we're going to queue up for you. I believe Howie, yeah. There we go. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we'll get right into it, because I think the most exciting part of this for me is really the discussion, to really hear from y'all any thoughts you have on things that I'll be sharing and your agenda, your work. So hello, and thanks again for having me. I am Kwamaloa, Chief Accessibility Officer and Senior Advisor. Today, we really want to have a conversation with y'all about my team's, what we're calling our pillars, our priorities, and also big ticket items that we are focusing on more of that MTA wide approach. So with that, we'll be walking y'all through several items, including an update of the capital plan. We will be discussing Omni and the changes that are coming with that, what's happening, what's coming in the fall, and what we have right now. The accessible changes coming to the fare control area, which you've all heard me talk about at the board meetings, and I'm really excited about that change. The first physical change that we'll be seeing to our system in a very long time. Of course, our 4 priorities or 4 pillars in my team, and a conversation. So with that, let's get right into the capital plan and changes that we see there. So as you've heard a lot of us talk about in the past, we are really excited about this historic investment toward accessibility that the MTA has put in this capital plan, over $5 billion for upgrades at 70 New York City transit stations. Of those, 14 have already been completed or awarded. 8 stations were added in December, and some of that included the 14th Street corridor stations that we keep hearing about, that I'm really excited to see happening along the 14th Street corridors, and funding for elevator and escalator replacements like we've seen on 34th Street, on 181st Street. A lot of work on just our normal repairs, ensuring that all elevators are functioning. And as I said earlier, a big investment to changing the infrastructure, the look and feel. And for us, for this group, for me, what accessibility looks like in our network, how people come in and out of our system in an accessible way, understanding my definition of accessibility, which spans much broader than just people with wheelchairs like myself, but also speaks to parents with strollers, people with luggage, like the former governor had said about Tupin, and we have $25 million working towards that. We will see the first of that in the coming months, so there will be a little bit more on that in the coming slides. Just to show you guys where we've gone so far, we have this map that just gives us a visual of where we've been working, where those 14 stations have been enhanced or made accessible, where some of the replacement is happening. And I'm really excited about this map because it showcases that we have moved beyond the central business district in Manhattan, really covering 4 out of the 5 boroughs so far, and really expanding accessibility throughout the city of New York, because as we know, persons with disabilities and access needs are all throughout the city. I'll move us on to an Omni update. So with tokens were really fun and exciting, but they led themselves to a lot of fraud, a lot of issues, money train. Metro cards were a little better. I still had a lot of friends with a plethora of dexterity, complexities, or disabilities that didn't allow them to swipe a Metro card. So they too had, concerns and did not have access swiping their card, accessing our system. We're hoping that with Omni, we'll get there for all different users to use our fare payment system in a way that works for them. And that means people with disabilities, that means the whole gamut, that means using your phone, your cell phone, your smart device, your watch, whatever you use to pay for things, you should be using in our system. We want to be, innovative. We want to be state of the art, and Omni is that vehicle that is going to get us to the future and beyond looking at what else we can tie into the Omni system, not just New York City Transit, but you've heard that board's conversation about folding in the railroads. I've had conversations with city people who are interested in folding in things like the ferry system. So really, Omni is a platform that will allow us to reach our clients and their connectors to get them from point A to B all throughout the state of New York. So right now we have the pilot for our 60 reduced fare customers. Some of them are in the room. I know Christopher Greif is one of them, and we've been receiving incredible feedback from them about how that program is working, things that we should enhance to make the experience really seamless to the client when we open up for the community at large. Beyond that, we are looking for rolling out an Omni pilot for paratransit users so that no longer do folks have to rely on cash and having that money to get into a paratransit vehicle. They should also be and will be able to leverage Omni to pay for those rides themselves. And lastly, we are working right now to bring vending machines like you have in the systems right now for MetroCards to deploy those vending machines throughout the network so that people can also have access to purchase Omni cards, to load their Omni cards, those who still rely on cash, because we know that not everyone, has access to debit cards, bank cards, credit cards, and some people do still rely on cash and will want to keep it that way. Well, we want to provide Omni for them as well, and the vending machines will help us get there. You've heard me talk a lot about the fare controls, and we rolled out what I consider to be an incredible enhancement to our operation with our AutoGates initiative, really leveraging Omni to open the AutoGates to all of our users. In the past, the AutoGates were used by maybe 100 or so swipes system-wide a day. Since we opened up the AutoGates for all who need that gate, you have between 35, sometimes over 3,500 to over 5,000 customers swiping, paying their fare to access our network. Where in the past, someone would open that gate from the inside. Many times a police officer or even one of our own MTA employees, so that people with needs would access into our systems. Well, now they're paying to do it. And that is a great story because that really showcases the fact that we have a need that was going unmet. We had people who could have, and a lot of times wanted to pay their fare, but didn't have the way to do it because they couldn't get through a turnstile. Well, now they're getting through the AutoGate, paying their fare. And as some of you have heard me say before, the AutoGate and this policy change that we initiated in November was really the precursor to our wide Faregate initiative, which some of you might have seen when we had a wide out gate at J Street Metro Tech for display. That was a little over a year ago now. And on the screen, you can see on the right, a display of what they'll look like. I'm really excited to be rolling these out late summer, early fall at 5 pilot locations. Those locations will be Penn Station, Bowling Green, Atlantic Avenue, and Flushing Avenue on the J and the M. That will be in addition to the deployment at Sutton Boulevard, which the former governor spoke so much about. People, accessing our systems with needs coming from the airport with luggage. But we want to see what that looks like when we installed a wide aisle gate system. And we will be looking to really address a lot more than just accessibility. We want to look at data counts from these machines. These machines will have a litany of sensors on them that will give us information on the usage of these gates, who's coming by, understanding fare evasion. They'll have an automatic count that'll tell us, who's not paying the fare and accessing the system. So I am really excited about putting this money to work. This $25 million that we have in the capital plan now will not be spent on these 6 locations exclusively. A small piece of that money will go to these test sites to really help us understand what requirements, what the needs would be for us to expand and grow the deployment and rollout of this type of system, learning from what we experience in the field, ourselves, our clients, all of you in the room who might have a need to use a whiteout gate. So I'm really excited about that, and more to come later on this year, hopefully end of the summer, early fall, for the installations of these gates. Now, my team, we are really looking forward to expanding the definition of accessibility, and we are working to establishing that priority with our client, our customers, a lot of our active members, so, and some of them are in the room right now with you all, to really learn about their experiences, to help us create a vision for accessibility that spans beyond the need that we know that exists, but really the need and the wants of our clients. And we do that, you know, speaking, testing, different initiatives, different pilots, really getting feedback from end users on what they really want to see change. And we hope that we can engage in the similar fashion with PCAC members. So the priorities are as follows. My team and I are really focused on establishing uniform design standards, working with internal and external stakeholders on creating standards for accessibility, really defining what accessibility looks like in our rail cars, our stations, buses, and bus stops. We're working to ensure that all customer-facing information is accessible. I've always said that access to information is access to independence. So it is one of my priorities to ensure that all information that we deliver is done in real time and delivered in audio, in visual, in all forms available, so that all of our clients hear what we have to say. That is especially true in case of an emergency, and you know, we're looking to leverage screens and all different tools out there. Our third focus is what I think, you know, is most important to me, which is really our biggest asset here at the MTA is our employees. And I want to make sure that every single one of our client-facing employees understands their demand, their requirements, and how I want them to be treating, helping, working with our clients with disabilities or those who have any needs. And in order to ensure that that happens in a seamless and good, well-executed format, I need to educate them. So the team is really working with HR and other teams to pick up on where transformation left and really consolidate, you know, that one MTA client customer-facing training material with modules that can be delivered electronically, you know, maybe a little bit more engagement when we can, to really help shape what that we want that interactions to look like with our customers with disabilities, and our employees. And lastly, I am reimagining Paratransit. You heard Jano say yesterday that we have hired a new vice president for Paratransit. And in addition to that, we have elevated the reporting lines of Paratransit to the president of New York City Transit, really giving it an equal footing with subways and buses. Now you'll have subways, buses, and Paratransit, three pillars of equal importance, reporting to the president directly. So really laying down our priorities, talking about how much we care and all the changes that we want to see happening for Access-a-Ride. To bring some color into the dynamics with our clients, with the public, and how we want to engage. We could go to the next slide. We really want, you know, to work with PCAC members, with our active members, engaging with New York City Transit, who owns and manages our 16,000 plus bus stops throughout the city. You know, ensuring that there's a consistent and comprehensive set of design principles, which we're working with. I'm so excited for a new board member. Elizabeth and I spoke a couple of months ago before she became a board member about leveraging her expertise in the private sector on design and engineering to help us come up with, you know, this blueprint that we're looking for. And of course, gathering feedback from our end users on all our assets, but especially our rolling stock. Our subways, the R211, are coming. We got a little taste for that earlier this summer. We have new buses with flip-up seats that really expand accessibility. And I want to engage more to make sure that that works for folks and that we, you know, we're on the right track. On effective communication, some of you saw at J Street and along the 23rd Street corridor, we are working with Navalence and Okinia to expand how we deliver information to our customers in the subways and in our buses. we're looking to ensure elevator status information is available. And we're working with New York City DOT to deploy real-time bus arrival information. Right now you have a lot of screen panels. Well, we want to deliver that to all people, low and blind vision folks and everyone who could definitely benefit from that information. On engagement and employee engagement and resources, as I said, we want to look at training. Part of looking at that training is speaking to our customers, speaking to people who use our subways or railroads or buses and saying, where do we miss the mark? What can we enhance? What would you like our drivers to hear more about? I know for me, as a person with a disability, inclement weather is my biggest obstacle. My real disability is snow and ice. And it's so critical that I say that to our drivers so that they understand how important it is for me to be picked up at every bus stop, for me to be dropped off at an accessible area, particularly when there's snow. So really engaging with you all on what it is that we're telling our customers, but also our employees. And lastly, on paratransit, I really want to stress the importance of enhancing my AAR app. I know a lot of folks use it. I know Mrs. Grace uses it. I know Chris uses it. I use it when I book my Access-Ride trips, and I want others to tell me how it could be enhanced. Beyond that, we're looking to improve Omni, to offer Omni. We want to hear how Omni goes. How does this pilot work for people? What could be enhanced? And lastly, engaging with the new leadership at Paratransit. I'm so excited for Chris. He is a trusted ally. I've known him for many years, and I think he'll be a breath of fresh air and new thought and new leadership for that, for that environment, and really reinvigorating the conversation around the paratransit that we want and not just the paratransit that we have. So those are my priorities. I know there was a lot of information there. I hope I got to all your thoughts, but I'm anxious to hear from you, any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Q.
So, I'm gonna ask Howie if you can, stop sharing so that we can put people back up. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's take our members' questions first. Sharon, go ahead.
I wonder if there could be a more direct way to report elevators out of service. It says there's on the sign, if it isn't working, go to www.mta.info. It's very vague. And if there was something, either a direct internet address you could call, or even if there was a phone with a machine where you could just tell the machine and call to report the elevator out of service so that it can be put back in service as quickly as possible.
I think that's a really good point, and something that I can bring back to my colleague Sarah Meyer and her team around making it easier and enhancing the way that we report elevator status. Fair point.
I was just gonna suggest maybe it's incorporating help points, that maybe that could be looped into the help point system. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, don't see any other members yet.
I was gonna wait till other members were gonna.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was waiting, I was being respectful. I wasn't gonna be the first one. First of all, Q, and Sarah, as well as Mir. I have to say that I think this year, if we're doing more technology stuff, it is gonna work in one way because, as I'm ACT member as well as Chair of Technology Information, we are working on a lot of new things coming up for this future as well. But regarding with the Omni testing, as I said this last time to everyone in Q, and I know Sarah Bates can bounce with me because I said this months already, we know that it's not going to be an easy task, but we have to work on a lot of updating technology. And one of them is the list of elevators, because I know this was brought up at the last technology meeting. And there's something that they are working on as well in the future. So, as well as the AAR app as well. as Ms. Gripe up there, aka my mother, is also one of the testers, but I have other people testing and seeing how the AAR is working, so we can know what we have to prepare for the future. And I have to say, it's working pretty, and I'll say decent. I'm not gonna say perfect, I'm not saying excellent, but it's decent. It's better than other states right now, because there, you can't even get on, period. But there's something that we can work on in the future, and new things, if we all work together. Thank you.
Sharon, your hand is still raised, but we've answered your question, right?
No, but there's one other thing I could mention, and that is the very bad signage of where the elevators are. Particularly, I've noticed that at Grand Central, that it's very hard to see the tiny little signs on the 4, 5, 6 lines. That's it. I will unraise my hand now.
I'm actually going to piggyback onto that, though, because Ron Troy has been asking a question about Grand Central platform signage pointing to one Vanderbilt elevators and escalators, elevators and escalators, and Grand Central shuttle platform signage. And I just did. So to piggyback onto Sharon's point about Grand Central, about platform signage pointing to one Vanderbilt elevators and escalators, and shuttle platform signage, in particular, pointing to one Vanderbilt. I've seen the signage. It's not necessarily easy to follow all the way through. So I think that the overall point is maybe finding better ways to improve the signage there.
Not only do I agree that this is something that, it's a valid point, but it's something that we're actually addressing right now. Sarah Meyer and her team have a really good signage project that they are unveiling in the coming months at Grand Central, and that's just phase A of a much larger project that they have to enhance signage, not only at one Vanderbilt but throughout Grand Central. So we're working on it.
Can I ask one other thing about Grand Central signage? Sometimes they close off some of the doorways. They're gated shut, and you don't know that, and you walk 2 blocks and then you can't get out. If there was a way that when they close off the doors, they could, even just put a sign so a rope across or a tape across so you could see it before you walk down there, or if there was some way to notify people to save that all that extra wheeling and walking.
Noting that down, signing of closures, and also alerting our clients ahead of time. Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Words with that one stone.
Jasmine, go ahead.
Just 2 comments. When you mentioned ice and snow, when there's been a big snowfall, the bus stops tend to not be shoveled out, and you have an 8-foot pile of snow that you have to climb over. That's just a comment. But my next request is a very old one, which is that, I represent Good Neighbors of Park Slope. So we're 600 people all aging in place, trying to. So I still wish there would be uniform signage inside the subway cars, the same way that they have on the buses, saying this seat is for the elderly or those less able to stand. And on the subways, I do understand the ADA requires the priority seating for those with handicaps, but not all handicaps are visible. And I know sometimes you have car cards up in the subway, but it's different on every line. Sometimes there's an audio thing, like be nice, give up your seat, pregnant women and stuff. But it's not the same in every car. It's not the same in every line. I just don't want to have to be begging someone to give me a seat. I want there to be a seat that I can point to a sign and say, may I sit down, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. I know that this is something that has been brought up in the past, And there's been many campaigns, which you alluded to in your remarks so far, the announcements that we put out there, but I'll make a note here to look into the potential for signing seating in the subway cars. And to your first point, as I'm sure snow and snow removal is the responsibility of New York City Transit and sanitation to ensure. So one of my concerns and goals is to educate our client on where to go for information, where to go for what different interests. And I worked at New York City DOT for 5.5 years, so I know we clear our New York City DOT clears their bus shelters. There's JC Deco has a contract to clear that. Everything that's not a shelter falls into the responsibility of the adjacent property owner, and we need sanitation to help enforce snow removal, snow clearance, and accessible path of travel at all bus stops. And for that, we need to together go to New York City DOT and ensure that they're hammering sanitation to do what they're supposed to do and enforcing that is actually happening.
Thank you.
Good thing.
Deborah, or user Deborah, as it says on the screen.
Okay, yes, it's user Deborah. Okay, hello Q, good to see you. Remember, Chris is using the app with me because I'm the Accessoride user. And it's gotten much better. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I do have issues with the buses. Bus drivers do not, very few of them make the people get up, and I come on with my walker. I had a woman say, I'm not getting up, I have a disability, and I needed the single seat because I didn't want to be in the way. So she first shows me how go on, and she finds, well, I have a heart condition. And I said, I don't care. And the driver was doing nothing. So I reported the driver because I have a mobility device. She should be thankful it wasn't Edith, because Edith would just run her down. I was being nicer for me. Also, I had problems on the bus going home. The car, we had problems with the cars parking in the bus stop. And they think, well, because I have to go, I'll be in and out. Bus comes in, and the guy was trying to take the baby carriage out the back door. I didn't see that. I get on, and he's giving me a hard time, and the driver said, turn around, let her sit down. So the guy says to me, well, what do you think I'm supposed to do? I said, you're going to do the same thing I did when my child was, and pick him up. And he threatened to beat me up. I said, go ahead. But the girl with the baby said, let's get out already. And then he says, I dare you to walk out. Yes, I did report this, but this has gotten ridiculous. The disrespect to the seniors and people with disabilities. I don't have to. And the drivers do nothing to help us. I mean, or the thought of, can't you pull up to the curb correctly? So maybe if you pull up and I don't have to use the ramp, or why are you using the ramp? Because I need to. What do you think?
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And on the train, well, I have to say it's frustrating because the elevator's on this end, but the middle of the platform is the hump where I'm supposed to go to board. And a lot of the stations are very narrow and dangerous. So like I'm taking my life into my own hands, and it's gotten really annoying. And this time Christopher has to try to figure out how to help me get on. And I don't like it. I'm not the only one. And I remember being there with Edith when she'd go, watch out, and go, zoop, and jump on with her wheelchair. But that shouldn't happen. And the drivers, also the conductors, with Grand Central, what Sharon says, 100%, but the conductor was supposed to tell us if the elevators from the platform to the mezzanine were working or not. Nobody told us.
Deborah, let's get you an answer, okay?
Yes.
Well, I just want to know
lot in
that's
there.
another problem too. They're supposed to tell us, and they don't.
We'll definitely try and get back to you, Deborah.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to go, but I don't know if Andrew or anyone there was one question inside.
One more hand.
Yes.
One more hand up if you can take it. Michael?
From what Deborah's saying, I see that same type of action. Every time I travel, I be seeing, getting on the bus before they let other people get off, and the driver don't say nothing. Driver should announce that, tell them to let people off first before you enter the
I hear you. I also live in Harlem and I know what you're talking about. And that's why we're looking to enhance employee resources and training for those reasons that you mentioned.
Oh, Q, about the signage, now about the, R139 on the A line, it needs to add, Fulton Street Express most of the day and Fulton Street Local at night. And also the C line, when the R139 uses, when they use the R139 for the C line, going uptown, it should say Washington Heights, 168th Street, and they also need to add, they still can have 8th Avenue, but it needs to say 8th Avenue / CPW local, along with.
I think the
Okay.
R179s do say to 168th Street, Washington Heights on them.
The program.
But as far as the, when the A's are running local, during the late night hours in Brooklyn, obviously, that's up to the conductor to switch the program to say Fulton Street Local at those hours, not
Yes.
Fulton Street Express, obviously.
All right. I'm gonna have to go to my next one. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
So much.
All right.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you, Q.
Thank you. Wait, did you, have anything else, Lisa, before we go to old and new business?
No, I really had just wanted to give an overview of the bike ped legislation, so,
Which you sort of did, right?
which I sort of did, yes. One other thing, we did, at our last PCAC meeting, we had discussed sending a letter to Mayor Adams and his team, which we've done. With prioritizing, as we discussed the issues, everybody's TRC's name was on there. Cicely, you were couple days late on that, but we'll get you on the next one. So we've gotten positive feedback from the mayor's office, and a dialogue is continuing. They have several outstanding vacancies. We're meeting with everybody who has an outstanding vacancy, and now that we have seen good progress, we've actually gotten members, not just being named here, but also we got two new members for Metro North and one new member for LARCC.
Amazing, like a flurry of activity.
Yeah, so we do owe some thanks to our colleagues and friends at the MTA for
Lisa, a question. Did they say anything about reappointment of holdovers?
no, but we can certainly raise those issues.
Right.
However, that's a slippery slope if we want to do that. Because, for instance, Cicely's appointment letter said that she's appointed until, I think August. So then we have to start the whole process. If they decide that they would like to appoint somebody else, then we have a new slate of members coming, are all held over. Or, they could decide to continue you individually or collectively, obviously. And then if they decide to appoint new people, then we have to start the process over. If that appointing elected official moves out of that office, then we're back at square one again, which is what we saw with Queensborough President's Office and her recommendation. If you would like to, and to ask to be reappointed or have us ask on your behalf, we can do that. If you want to just let it lay, we're happy to do that as well.
I mean, you remain a member until you are replaced technically, so.
That's good.
People have gone years without being reappointed and still maintaining membership.
Yeah, no action is needed.
No action is actually needed, right?
Hold on.
Right. I understand that. I'm just,
I don't think you have to open that can of worms.
okay.
Lisa, question. I know years ago, before we had de Blasio was the mayor, Adams was the borough president, and other people were new elected officials. Are you going to send a letter to introduce the new elected officials who are in now? Because it's amazing, the new borough president in Brooklyn knows who I am already.
We've reached out to all of the new borough presidents. We've asked to give presentations at the borough boards so that we can, through them, also make our introduction to the new council members. That's the most expedient way to.
So that's why I'm getting all those emails now from city council.
No, you're getting new, probably because there's all these new city council members.
Well, they, some of them know me and they said,
Okay, but we're making those relationships. Some of the, new electeds have new staff. So as they're getting appointed, we're making those connections. But some of them are continuing in place, which is also good. So, but we've reached out to everybody. Marisol, we, need to continue our conversation. Lots been going on in the Bronx. So, we want to, allow priorities and focus to be where it needs to be right now. But when the time is appropriate, we welcome the opportunity to, talk about the Metro North, council vacancy.
Excuse me. Oh, speaking of outreach, whatever happened to that letter? I don't know if it was from TRC or MTA that we were going to be sending to Mayor Adams about our issues.
That's what I did. That's what I started my conversation about. The letter was sent. We're in. It was signed by everybody here. And as I said, that Cicely was just late to the appointment for having her signature added to that. And we have made connections at City Hall, and our conversations are continuing with them over the vacancies that they have and about our priorities.
Well, Lisa, I don't know, maybe sometimes my email doesn't work, but I never got, did you send copies to all of us? I know we signed it all. It was signed by all of us, and the draft we all approved, but if you could send out again, I think maybe to everybody, the letter that we sent, because I know I never got it.
Sure, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to old business. Gotta do members first. Chris?
update on about station cleaning?
Did not get an answer in time for this meeting yet.
Because,
They're working on it.
yeah, well, just to add in, I know I mentioned Second Avenue and Houghton earlier.
But not every station has the same schedule, so.
I know,
Yes.
but if we seeing now, just to bring your attention, we're seeing a little more graffiti going on a little bit. We did,
Graffiti. That's
Yeah.
a new one.
well, I'm trying to be, I don't wanna say the rest, so I'm just gonna use a little special words today. I'm seeing a lot of spray painting at certain stations. Yes, I do put it into the app, and there are some stations do get a little paint over, but I still see them there, and it takes like, what, a month? In the indoor stations, outside stations, I see them cleaning it like as quick as a whistle, and during cold weather, too. This is on the Brighton line, and the Sea Beach.
Does that count as cleaning, or that's maybe?
Graffiti removal is-
That's probably maintenance.
Yeah, or maintenance, yeah. The outside stations have climatic issues they have to deal with, so.
Yeah, but they get done quicker, and I was like, how can that be quick, then they're not doing it in the tunnel?
But that's not cleaning. Probably that's.
No, I'm just saying, well, as Andrew said, removing, they're doing it more quickly outside stations. Like, I'll use an example, Neck Row Station had it, they, all of a sudden, the next 2 days, it was gone. So, and then when I went past through the N line, I saw it at, 55th Street, on the going Bay Ridge bound / Coney Island bound and an R train, because, N runs at night. I see it's still there. So what is the difference between an indoor and an outdoor during the winter season? Because I thought winter, they don't do that until it gets warmer weather. I'm puzzled.
So what you're asking is, what's the difference, if there's a graffiti reported,
Yeah.
what is the different approach between an indoor and an outdoor station to remove the graffiti?
We will find out.
I was hoping to ask this, but he's gone now. This is in regarding to wheelchair accessibility for, Roadway Junction at, the A&T line. $15 million grant
Is that separate or is that part of the 25 million?
One that Senator Schumer
Yes.
identified, I still believe that that's part of the infrastructure funding that's coming altogether to the MTA, and that a portion is being used for the ADA accessibility.
Yeah, but for some reason, the J, C, and L parts are different than the A and C part of that complex. So they may get different. There may be different funds that are used for the underground portion.
It might be different grant,
Yeah,
portion.
I need to recall the A and C.
And they're gonna do a
getting
lot of
different
work
monies
over there.
for
It's gonna
that,
take a
but
lot of work.
It is, but it's a major important junction and it has to be done.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
no.
I
On
don't
that.
see any hands up there. Mr. X. Yeah.
Okay. I mentioned this previously, whenever the Brooklyn Committee Day grade is held, I have it between from Grand Avenue, from First Avenue, and all bus stops, MTA must deploy employees. Issuing announcements, there should be focus on bus stops, this way the riders know what's happening, so that they know before they go. I shouldn't have to do his job by telling them where they should go and what's happening, like what's going on, like Marvin Gaye. I appreciate knowing in December, I had to do his job of thereby babysitting, which I shouldn't have to do. And the other whole business issue I have is also, I told him he can't suspend it below views of Walnut Street. That's right. Okay, he needs to suspend it below Myrtle or Flushing Avenue, and I stated yesterday how it can be done. And whether he's willing to do it my way remains a mystery. I want anybody go ahead and do it his way and make life a living hell for everyone, almost everyone.
So they were short turning the J's at Lorimer Street?
No, what I'm saying is, the last 24 years, since I become 1988, was the case of Jay's members suspended below Street. Death traps like Lorimer Street. So it's time for them to do it my way, which is three ways. The J train run between Park Boulevard and Vernon Avenue, and Vernon Avenue, you should use the middle track only. Regular service wise. Shuttle service wise, one train should run between Vernon and Flushing Avenue, and both has one town track, Flushing Avenue wheelchair accessible. Another shuttle train can replace that train between Vernon and Vernon on Westmont Avenue. So between Westmont and Wyckoff Avenue, both directions on the downtown track. Between Wyckoff and uptown track, between Wyckoff and Vernon Avenue, both directions on downtown track, because Wyckoff Avenue, they can walk off the platform. That's how you should.
Why couldn't the M shuttle run between Metropolitan Avenue and Myrtle Avenue?
I'm saying, we don't need both trains, just use the J train at the end. Do it that way, to be consistent.
What time of the day is this we're talking about?
This usually happens on weekends in the last 24 years, between 12 p.m. on Saturday and 5 p.m. on Monday. In the last 20 years, in fact, in the 1988. As I said before, I was suspending for J train below Lower Norfolk and Review Street. It's a death trap. It's better to suspend it.
Can you use a different word rather than below? Can you say east or west or north or south, please?
No thing. Suspending. Truncating it at Lower Review Street with a death trap. You can't truncate it in Longtown, truncate it in Myrtle or Flushing. I stated once. I told him December, I told him, I can tell you how you can do it. Follow him up, which I did yesterday. Now the question is he willing to do it my way, or is he still willing to do it his way?
Let me ask you an important question. When they do this, where is the work taking place?
We're taking the week.
Why are they suspending? Where is the work taking place?
Below Marcy Avenue.
Below meaning,
West of Marcy Avenue.
So no service over the Williamsburg Bridge at all?
No.
Interesting to know where that work is that they can't
So
run through.
that's what Andy, that's what happened the last 24 years, effective November 1988. And also I got a bonus for you. The last 30 years, effective 3/14/92 Saturday, Antrim suspended below Lane Boulevard, what's not the Rockwood Boulevard and the Rockaway. So on one line, 24 years, 24 disappointing years, and then the other line, 30 disappointing years. Okay, Madden, over 20 years, Madden, when and will the Madden stop? That's what I like to know.
Okay.
Because
I got it.
it's the same, so it's on the same line over 20 years, up to 30 years. Are you serious? You know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
Owner of a broken heart. I'm sure you heard that song before.
Thanks for the musical references today.
Andrew,
Yes.
question. When he's talking about, I know I brought this up years ago, and I'll be quick. Why can't they just end the J at Marcy on one side track? Because they do have a double switch track.
Again, I have to ask, where is this work taking place?
On the Williamsburg Bridge.
On the bridge itself?
Yes, that's what they've been doing. They've been doing repairs, fixing the signals. That I know what he's talking about. It's the signal work, but it has nothing to do with, it doesn't make sense why you're terminating the J at Hughes Street, which you put them in the middle outside of Marcy, but you have Marcy Station available. There's a wheelchair station. Once the person is coming from Accessible Station, yes, Flushing is open if it works, but then they're stranded.
If there's no service over the bridge, what's serving Bowery, Canal, Chambers, Fulton,
No
and
one,
Broad?
nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Those tracks are not being used at all?
Nothing. No, they're completely suspended. And then they tell you to take the bus over the bridge. Well, that's right, but they're also then you have a bus over the bridge. Now, thank God the 39 is running. But then you have, again, but there's no accessible access.
The big question about this is, how much longer is this Williamsburg Bridge work? When do they anticipate being finished with this? This is craziness.
Probably never.
Yeah,
Why
I agree
never?
with Lisa. It's never, because I don't know, they first they put
I worked at DOT in the 90s.
Yeah.
How frequently does this take place?
Once or twice, or they have to cancel because of weather related
Once a month, 1 weekend a month, or?
Yeah, sometimes they do it, you're correct, once or sometimes twice. But again, they don't, and this is something I know System Accessibility is having a frustration because there's no accessible reroute for them. People have to, then they have to tell them, you can't use the J then. You're stranded unless you're going to Flushing. They don't give them a cross honoring to the B46 bus.
We need to find out how much longer this work's going on.
Yeah.
Andy, as I said earlier today, you would make the world go around like a satellite.
Jasmine has her hand raised.
Jasmine.
Yes, I just want to know, who do I reach out to at the MTA for them to make a correction on their MTA app? Because we had a water main break in Park Slope a couple of weeks ago, so the B61 bus was rerouted for a couple of days, but it was detoured, so it's still showing up on the app. So I've been like going out of my way to a bus stop that is not the right bus stop anymore and avoiding the one that's the usual bus stop. So I don't know how to get them to update their app to show that the water main break is over and that the bus is on its normal route.
I would write an email to Sarah Meyer, actually.
Okay, what's her email address, please?
We'll give it to you offline, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Let's move to new business now. Item of new business?
Well, unless the members want to go first?
Yes, they do. Go ahead.
Anybody on the Zoom have some new business?
I looked for a raised hand. Go ahead, Chris.
Andrew, and I hope Caitlin can hear me because there has been a concern, complaints at the last mask force. Again, there's no children's mask. And there's concern about are we getting the washable, like the one you have, Andrew, and Brantley has on you, which that looks like they're the ones with the washables.
They're not washable. No.
What are those?
Not washable. No, they're
It's
disposable.
just blue or purple.
No, is that cotton?
It's disposable cotton. It's disposable.
Oh, that's where, because there's a lot of mix-up communication going around. So now you see what my brain is going, confusing. Concerning about that, And second, a lot of people complain that they didn't get enough advertising of when Mass Force is. They have to play with the website, type in Mass Force, and they finally found it. It's still on December 17th, number one. Two, a lot of people try to attend, but there's no team leader.
Is there another Mass Force scheduled now?
Yeah.
One this week, I think.
Yeah, this past Tuesday. I was at Coney Island.
Not on the MTA's website?
No,
I don't think.
no, unless you have to play with it.
We didn't get an.
We didn't get an email.
Exactly.
No, I usually get an invitation about it.
Exactly.
We got an email and
Yeah.
email.
We heard about it from the committee meetings at the board meeting, but we did not get an email this
usual
time around
email.
either.
Added with you guys, plus the community are like very upset because it feels like, a lot of them want to volunteer, they want to help, and we're not talking about young little kids, we're talking about the 18 and up, want to volunteer, and they were very upset because they feel like nothing's taken serious.
Maybe Kate has an answer.
Caitlin, do you hear what I just said?
I hear you. I'll take this back. GCR does not manage Mass Force. It's done through the customer communication tower, but I'll see what I can find out.
Thank you.
Yeah, because there's, just to let you know, and the washable kids are also, a lot of the kids, some mothers are looking for those little, the kids masks because they're trying to encourage their child who are now getting vaccinated. They want to try to,
They may not get washable ones, they may get disposable.
yeah, well,
I would say any kids mask would probably be welcome.
up to a point. Right now, we're still seeing washables because we were giving out only washables and some disposable.
Let's
The
move
blue
on,
one.
yes?
Mhm.
Let's. Mr. X.
The four members want to talk
Yes, thank you.
On the Capitol
where,
project.
leave it right here, you can make copies. Able to testify live, you should.
That's on the MTA's capital program.
Yes.
Yes.
Register and speed, this way you get first priority, register, speed, you get second priority.
Thank you.
You should arrive early, because you actually have your visitor, you the best character, have that this format. If you last online, you're waiting forever.
David.
Service, from, service changes, temporary changes to the P15, Q3 and Q10 at JFK, routes at JFK International Airport, go into effect on March 27, 2022.
Yep.
Should be, and once construction is completed, estimated to be no sooner than 2026. The routes will be relocated back to the central terminal area.
Yeah, that was announced at the committee meetings, during transit committee. They're going to the Lefferts Boulevard Air Train Station.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which in one way, just for the record, it does not affect accessibility, so just want to make that
No, it
clear.
does not.
No, 'cause
No, it does not. Any other items of new business?
it actually makes it easier.
Looking at everybody and seeing nobody?
I'll give one. Sorry, okay, you already fixed it.
I fixed it.
Thank you.
Seeing no other hands, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn,
All
5
right.
minutes early.
Thank you, folks.
Bird, you love that?
Stay well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.